press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello dear students. So in the previous class, we were talking about patterns of biodiversity. So let's take up the continued part today. So in this session, I am going to explain the species area relationship. So what exactly the species area relationship? So as itself says, species area relationship. So that means what? There is some sort of a relationship between the species and the area. So some kind of relationship is there between the species and the area. So it is one of the most fundamental ecological relationship. So this species area, what relationship that exists between species and area, no? So that was observed by Alexander von Humboldt. So the relationship between the species and area was observed by Alexander von Humboldt. So basically he was a naturalist. So while he was exploring the South American jungles. So while he was exploring the South American jungles. See, exploring means what here? While he was traveling through South American jungles, so he found some interesting fact. So he observed some interesting fact. So based upon his observation, so he says that, so what he says, based upon his observation, see, when he was traveling in the South American jungles, so he observed some fact. So based upon that, he says, so he gave a statement. So within a region, what he observed is, within a region, species richness increased. So what he observed? Within a region, a species richness increased with increasing explored area. With increasing explored area, but only up to limit. So, but only up to a limit. So, what he observed, so when he was traveling in the South American jungles, so what he observed was, so within a region, that means he was traveling in South American jungles, no? So within that region, what he observed was species richness increased with increasing explored area, but only up to a limit. See, what he observed is, so within our region, so as the area go on increasing, so as the explored area increases, the species also will go on increasing. So as the area increases, so as the area go on increasing, the species richness. So what is meant by species richness here? So species richness means what? It is the sum total of all the species present within a given area. So that is what the species richness. So what he observed, so when the area and the explored area increases and the area goes on increasing, so what happens? The number of species richness increases. So species richness increases with increasing explored area, but only up to a limit. So up to what extent the number of species will increase? Only up to a certain extent. So what extent? So up to a limit. Okay, so there is a limit for everything, each and everything, right? So when that limit reaches, so after that, beyond the limit, there will be no increase. There will be a little or no increase in the number of species. So it becomes a more or less steady. So as the area within a region, within a particular region, as the area go on increasing, the number of species also go on increasing, but up to a certain limit. So beyond that limit, there will be no change in the number of species. So that reaches a steady. Okay, so that is what he observed when he was traveling through the South American jungles. Okay, so let us understand in a very simple and easy manner. Suppose if this is our region, so this is the outermost boundary of our region. So this is the larger region we have. Okay, so within this region, as the area go on increasing, the number of species also increases. Okay, but up to a certain limit. But up to a certain limit. So after that, once the limit reaches, so there will be no further increase in the number of species. Okay, so let us say if this is our region. So within this region we have a small area here. Okay, we have a small area here. So in this area we will find some number of species. We will find a few species here. So because as it is a small area, there will be no variety of, there may not be a variety of habitats here, only few habitats are available. So in this small area we will find a few number of species. Further we move on. As we move on, the area increases, right? So as we move on further to a larger area, so what happens here also we will find in this area, so we will find some more number of species here. Okay, because this larger area may having a variety of habitats. It may have some water bodies also. So if water bodies are there, so there might be a presence of, so there is obviously there is a presence of aquatic organisms, right? So aquatic organisms are added to this species. So the number of species, as the large area increases, the number of species also increases because of the variety of habitats. So further we move to a still larger area. Okay, so what happens here also, the number of species will be more. So what he says, Humboldt, so according to his observation, so within a region, as the explored area increases, the number of species also increases, but only up to a limit. Okay, so from here we can find the number of species increasing as the area, explored area increases, the number of species also be more. Okay, so up to a certain limit. So if this is our limit, so after this limit, so beyond this limit, even though the area increases further, so there will not be much change in the number of species. Okay, so further there will not be increase in the number of species here. Okay, so this will almost this. So further there will be no change, no increase or a very little increase in the number of species. Okay, so it becomes more or less steady here. So it becomes more or less steady. So as the according to this statement, as the explored area increases, okay, the number of species also increases. So species richness increases with increase in explored area, but up to a certain limit. Okay, so that is what he observed when he was traveling through a South American jungles. Okay, so let us interpret this statement in the form of a graph. Suppose if we plot a graph of this particular statement, let us see what we will get. So, if we plot a graph of this statement, so if this is our y-axis, this is a y-axis and this is a x-axis. Okay. So, I take species richness on y-axis, species richness on a y-axis and area on x-axis. Okay. So, if we plot a graph of this statement, so what does this statement says? As the explored area increases, the number of species also increases, right? So, up to a certain limit. So, let me draw a graph. So, as the area increases, number of species also increases up to a certain point or up to a certain limit. So, further there will be no increase or a very little increase in the number of species, right? So, this slope becomes steady here. Okay. So, as the area increases, as the explored area increases, the number of species also increases up to a particular point. So, up to a particular limit. After that, beyond that, there will be a no increase in the number of species. So, that the slope becomes, see here, the slope becomes steady here, right? So, this is the curve we get when we plot a graph of this particular statement. So, this is called as rectangular hyperbola. So, this is what the rectangular, the curve we obtained is. So, this is the rectangular hyperbola. So, this curve explains the exponential relationship between the species richness and the area. Okay. So, this is the equation we will get. S equals C a to the power of z. See, what according to the statement here, as the explored area increases, number of species will go on increases, right? So, species is directly proportional to area. So, as the area increases, the number of species also increases, but up to a certain extent. Okay. So, further there will be no increase in the number of species. So, whenever we want to convert this proportionality into equality, so what we need to do is we need to give a constant. See here. Okay. So, the relationship between a species and the area here, it is exponential. Okay. So, the relationship between the species and the area is exponential. So, here becomes a to the power of z. So, the equation becomes S equals C a to the power of z. So, this is the equation we get. Okay. So, this equation tells us about the exponential relationship between the species richness and the area. But this relationship it will become a straight line. This relationship will become a straight line on a logarithmic scale. Okay, suppose if you want to convert this graph into a straight line, so what we need to do is we need to take a log on both the sides here. Okay, so this equation, if you take a log on both the sides here, so this equation will become log S equals log C plus Z log A. So this is the equation we get. Okay, so on a logarithmic scale, so this will become, so this curve, no, so this will, we will get a straight line. Okay, suppose if you take this log S on y axis and log A on the x axis. Okay, if you take log S on y axis and the log A on the x axis. Okay, so now when you plot a graph of log S on y axis and log A on the x axis, we will get a straight line like this. Okay, so now tell me what is log S here. So what does S represent here? S is species richness. So what S represent here? S is a species richness, and A is area. Okay, and what Z represent here? Z is the slope of the line. So this is the slope. Okay, so this is Z. So Z represent what here? Slope of the line. Okay, then what does C represent here? C is y intercept. C is the y intercept. So here see, we have a slope like this. So as this slope touches the y axis, so this area, so this region, so this will become, so this region on y and the x axis, no, so this is called as what? Y intercept. This is the y intercept. So this is this region. Okay, so this will become a C. So y intercept is denoted by a C. Okay, so C represent here y intercept. Understood? So on a logarithmic scale, so what is the formula here? Log S equals log C plus Z log A. So on log scale, we will get a straight line like this. So this is the slope of the line. Okay. So what is the significance of this slope here? So here when you plot a graph, so we will get a curve like this, no? So that is a rectangular hyperbolic curve. Okay. So if we take a log, we will get, so on a logarithmic scale, the relation here, the relationship, this curve explains the relationship, that is exponential relationship between species richness and the area, right? But on a logarithmic scale, so it will become a straight line. So because as it is a curved line, we may not get a clear conclusion from this. So we were taking a log. So but on a log scale, so this will become a straight line. So we will get a clear conclusion. Okay. So then what is the significance of this slope here? So let us see what is the significance of this slope. Here, so this is the straight line we get. So here, if what does this slope indicates here? If the analysis is done in a smaller area, Okay, suppose if the analysis is done in a smaller area, so in a smaller area the number of species will be less, right? Okay, so but as the explored area increases, the number of species will increases, right? So suppose if the analysis is done in a very smaller area, suppose for example the analysis of bird species in California. Similarly, if you take one more example, molluscans in New York State. New York State. So here the analysis is done in a smaller area. So the number of bird species only in this the region, that is in the California. So the molluscans, okay, so the number of species of molluscans, so in a New York State. Okay, so the analysis, we are doing the analysis in a smaller area here. So if the analysis is done in a smaller area, the slope it becomes a less steeper. It becomes a less steeper. Okay, so this is what the value we get. So here regardless of the taxa, whether it may be birds or molluscans or it may be any other species, and regardless of the region, if the analysis is done in a smaller area, so the value of z, no, so here regardless of taxa and regardless of the region, the slope will be almost similar only. Okay, so the value of z, so this is the value of z, no, so it will lies in the range of, the value of z will lies in the range of 0.1 to 0.2. Suppose if the analysis is done in a larger area, like entire continent, suppose you are going to analyze number of bird species in the entire continent. Okay, so what happens here, as the explored area increases, the number of species also increases, right? So what happens to the slope here? The slope will become much steeper like this. Okay, so if the analysis is done for a larger area, the slope becomes much steeper. It becomes a more steeper. Okay, and the value of z. So here the value of z will range from 0.6 to 1.2. So this is the value of z when the analysis is done in a smaller area, and this is the value of z when the analysis is done in a larger area. Okay, for example, take frugivorous animals, frugivorous birds. Frugivorous birds means fruit eating birds. So the number of fruit eating birds and mammals in the forest of different continents. Forest of different continents. So here the analysis is done. So the species of frugivorous birds, that means fruit eating birds and mammals in the forest of different continents. Okay, so here the analysis is done in a larger area, no. So when the analysis is done in a larger area, the value of z, it lies in the range of 0.6 to 1.2, right? So here the value of z is 1.15. So this is the example which is given in your NCERT. So you please go through the lines. Understood clearly? So here, what do we understand by this concept here? So as the analysis is done for a larger areas, look at the slope becomes more steeper. So we come to the conclusion that as the explored area becomes more, as the explored area is more steeper the slope. Okay, so as the explored area is more steeper is the slope. Okay, and the value of z lies in the range of 0.6 to 1.2, and this is what the examples. Understood clearly? So this is what a species area relationship. So what does this species area relationship says? So as the explored area increases, the number of species also increases, but up to a certain limit. Okay, so that is what it says, species area relationship. So this was observed by Alexander von Humboldt while he was traveling through South American jungles. He observed this. Okay, so this is what a species area relationship. Understood clearly? Okay, then next we will move on to further concept. So hope you understood this concept, right? So it's just simple species area relationship. That means there is some sort kind of relationship between species and the area. Okay, so why? Because as the area increases, the number of species also increases, right? Now, importance of the next concept is importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. Importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. Importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. So, species diversity. So, what do you mean by species diversity? So, it is the varieties of species within a region. Okay. So, it is a product of species richness and the species evenness, right? So, species diversity, it plays a very important role or a significant role in maintaining the proper functioning of the ecosystem, right? So, ecosystem, it includes what? It includes various types of habitats. It includes different all the animals, that is fauna, and as well as the all plant, that is it includes flora, fauna, that means plants and animals, various types of habitats, and even microorganisms, and also the abiotic components. Okay, so in an ecosystem, the living organisms interact with the non-living things, that is abiotic components, right? Okay, so for the proper functioning of an ecosystem, the species diversity plays a very significant or a very important role. Okay, so the number of species present within a community. Okay, so the number of species, what number of species present in a community, so that is really matter to the functioning of ecosystem. So rich biodiversity, so for the proper functioning of ecosystem, a normal functioning of ecosystem, a rich biodiversity is needed. So it requires a richer biodiversity. So rich because the rich biodiversity, it is important for stability. Okay, so it is important for the rich biodiversity. It is needed or it is important for stability and also high productivity and also for productivity, for stability, for productivity, and also for a healthier ecosystem. So rich biodiversity is needed for the stability, productivity and also health of the ecosystem. Okay. See for example, according to the ecologists, so what they say is, if the community having more number of species, if the community having a more number of species tend to be, if the community having more number of species tend to be more stable, tend to be a more stable than the community having less species. So according to ecologists, what they observed is, so what they say is, if the community having a more number of species, so that community having more number of species, that tend to be more stable than the community having a less number of species. Suppose if the two, if we compare the communities, two communities, if one community is having more number of species and the another community having a less number of species, so the community which is having a more number of species, no, that is stable than the community having the less number of species. Okay, see, for example, I take two communities. Okay. So this is what the community A. So this is the community A, and this is the community B. So the difference between community A and community B is, the community is having more number of species and the community B is having less number of or a limited number of species. So suppose in this community A, it's having more number of species, no? So in this community we are having grass, okay, grasshopper, frog, snakes, mice. So like that many more species are present in this community A. So it is having a more number of species. But the community B is having a less number of species. So for example, we have grass here, grass, frog and a snake. So we have a limited number of species in the community B. So here, what is given here? The community having more number of species tend to be more stable than the community having less species. So of the two communities, which is the more stable community here? Community A is more stable or community B is more stable? Obviously the community A is more stable. See why? Because it has a more number of species, right? See if we talk about a simple food chain. So in a food chain, one organism is being eaten by the other organism, right? Okay, suppose this is a grass. So grass is eaten by grasshopper. Grasshopper in turn eaten by a frog. So frog in turn eaten by snakes, right? Okay, so what happens if any one of the species is lost in the ecosystem? Suppose if any one of the species become extinct, so what happens? So there will be no food. If one of the species become extinct, there will be no food for the organisms which depend on that extinct species. Okay. So what happens? So this causes an ecological disturbance. So it causes, if any one of the species is lost here, so this causes some ecological disturbance here. Okay. So because see here we have a grass here but no grasshopper. Okay, so the frog, the food for frog, that is a grasshopper. So if the grasshopper are not there, so there will be, then obviously there will be less availability of the food for the frog. So due to the scarcity of the food, the frog population may die or it may migrate. Okay, suppose if the frog population become less, what happens? Obviously it affects the organisms which feed on the frog. So here it affects the snakes, right? So entirely, so gradually what happens here? The species gradually one by one the species are going to become extinct. Okay, so that's what it is less stable. So if the community having less number of species, there will be no alternative food for this. Okay, so what happens gradually, so the stability of the ecosystem is lost here. But whereas in this community A, so we have more number of living organisms here, so the availability of the food will be more. So there is always an alternative in this community. So because for example take snakes, right? So here we have snakes, frog, mice and all. So the snakes can eat both frog and as well as mice. Suppose if the frog population becomes less here. If the frog population becomes less, the snake can feed on mice. So they have an alternative source of food so that they can survive here. Okay, so here more the alternative, so more stable is the community. Understood clearly? So if the community having a more number of species tend to be more stable than the community having less number of species. Okay, understood clearly? So this is what according to the ecologist, and here, so the communities having more number of species are more stable. So what exactly the meaning of stability here? Okay, so stable community here. So for a stable community, it has some characters like a stable community should show less variation in productivity. Less variation in productivity year to year. So in a stable community, so there will be less, you should show less variation in productivity year to year. Suppose if the organisms, if the number of species are more, so obviously the productivity will also be more, right? So if the number of species more, it leads to a higher productivity. Suppose if the number of species are more, the community is also stable, right? Okay, suppose if one or two species may last, so there will not be a much difference in the productivity year to year. Okay, so stable community should show a less variation in productivity year to year, and it must be resistant to. It must be resistant to occasional, natural and man-made disturbances. The stable community must be resistant to natural and man-made disturbances. So obviously some natural calamities were happening, okay, so man-made disturbances will be there. So but the stable community must be resistant to natural and as well as man-made disturbances. And a stable community, it must be resistant to invasion by alien species. So here alien species means exotic species. If any exotic species enter into a particular community, so there will be a chances of threatening to already the species which already existing there. Okay, so if any such alien species enter into that particular community, so the stable, if the community is stable, so it must be resistant to invasion by alien species. Okay, so a stable community, it has some characteristics, right? So what are the characteristics of a stable community? It should show a less variation in productivity year to year. So that means if there are productivity, it is remains same year to year, so we can say that community it is having a more number of species and it is more stable. If it is resistant to natural and man-made disturbances and invasion by alien species, we can say that that community is more stable. Okay, so these are characteristic features of a stable community. Okay, so this what are these attributes now? So these attributes are confirmed by the experiments conducted by an ecologist, that is David Tillman. So these attributes are related to, is they related to species richness? If the community is said to be more stable, that community should possess more number of species, right? So this is confirmed by the experiments done by David Tillman. So he was an ecologist. So he conducted long-term ecological experiments on. So he conducted experiments by using open plats. So he conducted experiments by using open plats. So open plats in the sense open land. Okay. So based upon his experiments, so on his experiments, by his experiments, what he observed was the open plats. So when he conducted the experiments on open plats, that means on open land, so what conclusion he drawn is, what he observed was the open plats with more number of species. The open plats with more number of species shows. So he conducted a long-term experiments. So what he observed was open plants with more number of species shows less variation. So less variation in productivity, less variation in productivity year to year. Okay, so this confirms a character, that is what the stable community. So that those open plats with more number of species, they shows less variation, no? So if they shows less variation in productivity year to year, so that community is said to be a stable community, right? And the more species, so more the number of species, more the number of species contributed to a more productivity, more productivity. More productivity. Okay, so if the number of species is more, obviously the productivity will be more. Okay, so these experiments conducted by David Tillman, so they confirm these attributes. They are related to species richness. So if the community is having a more number of species, if the species richness is more, so that community it will be a stable. Okay, so if more the number of species, more stable is the community. If more the number of species, more is the productivity. Okay, so species richness play a very important role. Okay, it is high biodiversity is important for the stability and as well as the productivity. Okay, so this is what the importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. So we will move on further. Ecosystem health. So this question may be asked like this, what are the conclusions drawn by David Tillman from his experiments? Then next is ecosystem health. Ecosystem health. So as I said, species diversity, that is species richness, plays an important role in maintaining a healthy ecosystem, right? So for maintaining, for the proper functioning, for the healthier ecosystem, the species diversity, okay, it plays a very significant role, because each and every species play a very important role in an ecosystem. Okay, so I already said about the food chain. If any one of the species is lost, so the organisms which depend on that, so may be affected, right? Okay, so like that, each and every species in an ecosystem will play a very important role. And suppose if few species are lost, okay, if the few species are lost, or if the few species become extinct, so there will be a little harm to the ecosystem. Suppose if the few species become extinct, so as lost from the ecosystem, so it would harm a little harm to the ecosystem. Okay, so initially if one of few species has become extinct, so initially there will not be much difference, but gradually as more and more number of species as lost, so definitely it causes ecological disturbance, so that affect the normal functioning of the ecosystem. So if, for example, so Western Ghats, so Western Ghats are characterized by, remember, Western Ghats are characterized by presence of more number of amphibian species, right? So when compared to the Eastern Ghats, the Western Ghats are having more number of amphibian species. Okay, so in the Western Ghats, if any one of the tree frog species, if any one of the tree frog species becomes extinct, as lost, so there will not be a much difference. And similarly, what about the total number of ants? That is more than 20,000 species of ants are there, no? So if the number of ants reduced to 15,000, if the number of ants reduced to, number of species of ants reduced to 15,000, so there will not be much difference for some time, okay, so that will not affect for some time, but gradually as more and more species become extinct, so that causes ecological imbalance, okay, so that alters, okay, that affect the healthy functioning of the ecosystem, okay. So one of the ecologists, Paul Ehrlich was an ecologist. So he explained the effect of, he clearly explained the effect of reduction in biodiversity. Reduction in biodiversity. So he explains the importance of each species in an ecosystem. So he put forth an hypothesis to explain the effect of a reduction in biodiversity. So the hypothesis which was given by Paul Ehrlich was Rivet-Cooper hypothesis. So this is the hypothesis It was given by Paul Ehrlich to explain the effect of reduction in biodiversity. Okay, so according to this Rivet-Popper hypothesis, so the airplane, so the different parts of the plane are joined by using rivets, right? So here the rivets means what? Bolts. Okay, so the parts of a plane are joined by using a more number of rivets are the bolts, right? Suppose if the passenger are traveling in that part in the plane, if they start popping the rivets. So popping means if they start taking the rivets to their home, so what happens you imagine, okay? If they start removing the rivets or the bolts one by one, so what happens? Suppose if a few rivets are removed from the plane, what happens? So nothing will happen to the plane if only a few rivets are removed. But there will not be initially, there will not be any effect, okay? So there will not affect, this will not affect the flight safety because only few rivets are removed. But as more and more rivets are removed from the plane, so what happens? If few rivets are removed, okay, so that will not affect the flight safety, right? Suppose if more and more rivets, the people starting, if they start popping more and taking more and more number of rivets, so what happens? Okay, so the plane, it will definitely, it will dangerously, it will become, so dangerous weak, okay. So definitely it will become weak, right? And which rivets are removing, okay. So further, if more and more rivets are removed, so there will be a risk for the plane, right? And particularly which rivet is removed, that is important. Suppose if the rivets of seats or rivets near the windows are removed, so what happens? There will not be any much effect. If the rivets of the seats and the windows side rivets are removed, so there will not be much harm or damage to the plane. But you imagine if the rivet and the wings are removed, if the rivet and the wings are removed, you can imagine what happens, right? So that causes a severe threat to the flight. Understood this concept clearly? So if the airplane in the rivets, you will find a number of rivets, okay? So the parts of the plane are joined by using these rivets. So if the travelers, so the passengers, they take a rivet, they start taking the rivets. If they take a few rivets, okay, that will not affect the flight safety initially. That will not cause any harm to the flight, right? Okay. But as more and more rivets are removed, so what happens? So what happens? It will affect flight safety, okay. So definitely there will be some threat to flight safety, right? Suppose if the particular rivet, okay, so which rivet are removed, so that causes a severe threat to the plane. If the rivets on the wings are removed, so that causes a severe threat to the flight. Okay, so now what he did is he compared the airplane to an ecosystem. He compared the airplane to an ecosystem and rivets. He compared the rivets to species. He compared the rivets to a species and the rivets on wings. So because these rivets are more important, rivets on wings. We compare the rivets on wings to a keystone species. Keystone species. Now you can imagine. Okay. So initially if the few rivets are removed, so that will not affect the flight safety initially. Suppose the same thing in case of the ecosystem. If one or a few species are removed from the ecosystem, it will not affect the ecosystem initially. For some time there will be no effect for some time. Okay. Suppose if more and more rivets are removed, so what happens here? If more and more rivets are removed, so the plane, the plane become weak, right? So here, as the more and initially there will not be any much difference in the ecosystem, functioning of ecosystem, because if only one or a few species has lost. But as more and more number of species become extinct, so what happens? So that causes ecological imbalance. So that disturbs the functioning of the entire ecosystem, right? And further, if a particular rivets, the rivets on the wings are removed, what happens here? So that causes a severe threat to the plane, right? So here, so that causes a severe threat to the flight safety. So here, rivets on wings are compared to keystone species. So what are keystone species here? So keystone species are nothing but these are the very important species in an ecosystem that maintains the species diversity. So keystone species are the species which maintains the species diversity in an ecosystem by keeping the number of other species constant. So they play a very significant role in maintaining the species diversity in an ecosystem. So those species are called as keystone species. So the keystone species are very, very important in maintaining the species diversity of an ecosystem. Suppose if the keystone species are, if the keystone species become extinct, okay, so what happens? So it greatly causes ecological imbalance, that it completely alters the functioning of an ecosystem. Okay, so the entire functioning of ecosystem gets spoiled. Okay, so the keystone, you will come to know what exactly the Rivett-Popper hypothesis, right? So initially, if one or few species has lost, there will be no harm to the ecosystem. If more and more species become extinct, so that causes harm, that is ecological imbalance. Further, if the keystone species are removed, so ecosystem, the functioning of ecosystem is greatly affected. Okay, so that is by using this Rivett-Popper hypothesis, Paul Ehrlich, so he explained the effect of reduction in biodiversity. So he clearly explains the importance of species in the ecosystem. Okay, so this is what Rivett-Popper hypothesis, which was given by Paul Ehrlich to explain the effect of reduction in biodiversity. So for healthier ecosystem, what is needed? A more number of species is needed. Okay, so what is the importance of species diversity to the ecosystem? Species richness is important. A more number of species make the community more stable. It increases the productivity and it also maintains the healthy functioning of an ecosystem. Okay, so that is what we discussed today. So that is the importance of species to the ecosystem. Okay, so you come to know what is the importance of species to the ecosystem. David Tillman experiment and Paul Ehrlich, Rivett-Popper hypothesis. So this is a very important. Explain Rivett-Popper hypothesis of Paul Ehrlich. So this question may be asked in your board exam. Okay, so in this session we discussed the species area relationship. So according to a species area relationship, so what happens? As the explored area increases, the number of species also increases, but up to only a limit. Okay, so that was observed by Alexander von Humboldt. And then the importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. So what experiment conducted by David Tillman and Rivett-Popper hypothesis. So all these are important. Okay, so you go through once. Hope all of you understood the concept, right? Okay then, thank you.